Hi, I'm Georgia Bockoven. I'm a writer. My personal passion started in a strange way, and it started when I was very young, and it was circumstances of the way I was raised. I was a military brat. That means that my father was in the military and we moved a lot, and I wound up going to 17 different schools. When you change schools that often, it's a lonely life because you leave friends and it takes you a long time to make friends because friends are usually in cliques, and it's very hard to get into one of those cliques to become part of a group of friends. So when I went from school to school, my best friends became books, and I became an avid reader. No one else in my family was a reader, just me. And looking back, one of the most exciting things that ever happened to me, I was about in the 5th or 6th grade, and I was coming home from school in a brand new school area. It was Winter Haven, Florida, and I happened by a used bookstore, and sitting out on the sidewalk was a stack of books with a twine around them, and it said $1, and I could have that whole stack of books just for me for $1. I went home and I talked my mother out of $1, went back to the bookstore and lugged those books home, and that was my treasure for that summer when I didn't have any friends. The passion for reading turned into a passion for writing. I loved the worlds that I read about. I could escape into the worlds that I read about, and I thought, wow, what if I could create my own world with my own imagination and my own passion? And so I went on writing my own stories, and when we moved from area to area and I had summers where I didn't have any friends, I wrote these books and I wrote my stories, and I still have some of them today. So saving the type of thing that you do when you're filled with passion is wonderful. And as far as genius goes, I've thought a lot about the idea of genius. And my definition of genius is when you walk into a car repair store and someone there listens to the car and detects, well, I know what that is. Or I can guess by the way the car sounds what that is. That's true genius. And that comes from someone having a passion for the job that they do and not letting anyone else talk them out of that passion. And luckily, no one talked me out of my passion. No one tried to talk me out of my passion. They just kind of shook their head and didn't understand me, but that was okay. 21 years ago, my first grandchild was born. His name was John, and he was 2 pounds, 2 ounces. And we fell in love the second we saw him. He was so tiny, and my heart was wrapped around his little finger when he reached out, and I sat in the hospital with him for 5 months. When I was there, I watched the other families who were going through their own sadnesses and joys with their babies, and I thought, what if? And that's the way I write a lot of my books, what if? And I came up with a story, what if a woman sacrificed herself and didn't have chemotherapy, though she had cancer, and had her baby. And that story turned into a really wonderful book. I mean, it's my book and I can call it wonderful if I sound egotistical, but everyone else thought it was a pretty good book too. It sold all the way around the world in 50 different countries, and it was made into a CBS Movie of the Week for television with Jane Seymour and James Brolin. And it was very successful. I think it was shown 150 times on the Lifetime network. And we went up and watched some of the filming, and my husband and I were extras in the movie, and every time we see it, we get a really good laugh from that. And it was just fun from beginning to end. One of the things you have to accept as a writer is that not everybody wants to read what you write, and that's what makes a bestseller list. And that's why you can pick up a book that your friend picked up and you don't like it at all, and she or he thinks that it's just the best book that they've ever read. But that's okay. Everybody doesn't have to like your work. And it's important that you not let whether they like your work control what you write or what you love. And that's helped me through my whole career, is having confidence and faith in what I do. I don't think, especially in any type of entertainment field, and writing is an entertainment field, I don't think you can succeed without having confidence to carry you through. There was a time early in my career when I was still doing the nonfiction articles that I wrote an article about quarter midgets, which is a little race car that kids race. And I worked on that so hard, and I did the very, very best that I could, and I sent it off to the editor with pictures that I'd taken at the racetracks. And he very kindly wrote back and said, could you maybe make this a little livelier? And I thought, sure I could, but I don't know how, because I thought it was lively when I sent it to you. And he said, well, I could show you some examples. What I got back had more red pen than black ink from the typewriter. And I looked at that, and it crushed me, and I cried, and I walked around the house, and I thought, well, now what'll I do? Finally, I reached the point that I thought, what I do is I pick it up, and I look at it, and I redo it, and I learn from every single thing that he has written. And I did, and I became a much better writer. The most important thing is, don't listen to anybody, whether it's your friends at school, whether it's your brother or sister, even if it's your mom and dad. If they want to say to you, oh no, you're not the kind of person who could become a writer, that's simply not true. Because if I had listened to those, I wouldn't be a writer. I wouldn't have 22 books that had been published. I wouldn't have 150 articles that had been written for magazines and newspapers. Because nobody looked at me and said, yes, you have what it takes to be a writer. That had to come from inside me. And if you have a little voice inside you saying, I want to do this, I want to do this, do it.